All right, so I stumbled across this old article from Shadow and Act, and it prompted me to watch this another episode of Family Matters, which was about it was season 8, episode 14, Revenge of the Nerds. So Steve Urkel is upset yet again with Myra. Myra is still begging Steve to marry her. Steve refuses. He's not into commitment. And so she's in a wedding dress. And after being rejected, she throws a grill at his window. I really don't understand why a lot of people think Myra is Steve's perfect match. And I think the only person that I've heard repute this was Obsidian Ali, which I'll give him his props. I really the thing is that Myra was vastly miscast, and to be honest with you, it kind of shows how stupid the writing was. To where again, you intentionally make Steve Urkel the uber nerd who is completely unlikable in a real life situation. But you give Myra, who's so called his equal or most compatible with, you make her fair, attractive, and all this. But there's no likable qualities about Steve Urkel other than he's smart. And so I'm watching this episode, and Solana Latham, her character is she's a guest star, and it's so funny. I never liked any role Solana Latham plays. I always find her roles always to be trifling. She's always playing some type of trifling bitch, and her role in this episode was really no different. And so Solana Latham plays this sorority girl, the stereotypical sorority girl that Laura she wants to be a part of this very same sorority. So Steve comes across the sorority house, and he's just waiting on Laura to come back, just so he can get rejected again or whatever. So Solana Latham character lays it on him. She kisses him in the mouth, and they're planning a geek date party to where all the sorority girls get a geek to go on to bring to a party, to their party. And so the thing is that they're literally bringing dates that to make fun of. So they're basically just kind of competing on who has the most obnoxious guy in as a date. And I've always found this funny when it comes to B-dub logic, is that when black boys, especially black boys with glasses, when we are academics and we are trying to be the so-called masters of the universe, we are made fun of, laughed at. But when a black girl in Keisha from the block goes to college to be a psychologist, just like any other Keisha, and she gets a 4.0 GPA, all of a sudden, well, a 4.3 or whatever, all of a sudden you don't apply those nerdy qualities to her. You don't use those nerdy shaming tactics on her. And that's one thing I found kind of upsetting with this episode, is that black female academics is praised, but when black boys do it, all of a sudden we're met with so much resistance. Like she might as well just ask Steve Urkel, how come you're not on a basketball scholarship since you're so smart? And it's I didn't even really finish the episode, but it was just ironic on how black boys never got a chance in the 90s and early 2000s to really be themselves. And I remember when I was when I was in grade school in the early 2000s to the all the way to the 2000s to the I graduated early 2010s. So 2011 is when I graduated high school. But it was kind of ironic on how when I was in school, black women were very afraid to get to know me. And it wasn't, and they tend to have, they always compared me to Steve Urkel. And what was funny was that I never really watched the show. I never like seen the show in a context to where I understood it until somewhat 2012. But I really didn't watch it like religiously to understand it until like 2018. So I never understood the references that people would always try to compare me to. I remember my half brother, he tried to explain to me that how I was like Steve Urkel, and he was like, "Oh yeah, Steve Urkel was this socially inept guy who's just clumsy," and I'm like, the only thing me and him have in common is just that we wear glasses and we somewhat look alike. And I grew up being so tired and frustrated with this Steve Urkel comparison to where, people literally do believe that, black boys with glasses are these clumsy Neanderthal agility, reflex to where we're just bumbling idiots. We're clumsy. We're just, we touch something and then it disintegrates into smithereens and some shit. And a lot of this is by design of white writers intentionally, making us the bad guys, making us, be a reason why you shouldn't raise your boys to be intellectual or be smart. And it was weird. It was just weird growing up because I didn't even understood Steve Urkel. I didn't even seen the show, and I was like, I watched Saved by the Bell more more than I understood or watched Family Matters, and I couldn't really even understand why I was getting these comparisons. But Jaleel, I'm gonna get to the article. So Jaleel White says that, and he's been having a little bit of trouble keeping his mouth closed for black women, but he claimed that his alter ego allowed black women to see him the way I actually am. No, wait, yeah. Jaleel White says Steve Urkel's alter ego Stefan allowed black women to see me the way I actually am. And I do think the Stefan character is more to his personality. I just don't think that, kind of looking at the way Stefan acts, you can really tell by the motion that he wasn't. Like, I don't even think Jaleel White was really that attracted to the girl who played Laura. I felt like it was forced. And I've always suspected it was forced because, the Laura was dark-skinned. And, she was the typical Keisha on the block. And then you had Myra, who was this fair-skinned, light-skinned girl, very attractive. And I'll always say she was completely miscast. And you're seeing this light-skinned girl being rejected by this corny black nerd who is a rejection punching bag to Laura. I always kind of found Family Matters to be kind of an apologist series or sitcom for, dark skinned girl tears or whatever. So everyone will always remember Jaleel White for his iconic role as Steve Urkel in Family Matters. But midway through the series, his science-crazed character used his magic potion/machine to transition into Stefan Urkel, the suave and charming dream man of his longtime crush Laura Winslow. Stefan remained a prominent character on the show in later years, but White had conflicting views about Stefan. He initially did not like the character. While appearing on The Talk, co-host Cheryl Underwood joked about how enamored she was with Stefan. Meanwhile, White says he was not on board with the character. I never even wanted to play Stefan. I thought Stefan was boring. He explained, but he later learned that it was good for viewers to see the real him outside of the nerdy Urkel. I mean, thank God I played Stefan because it allowed black women to see me and the way I actually am. I had no idea now that that's the standard, he said. And that's pretty much the standard because black women refuse to understand humanicized black boys with glasses. And, this is why the conversations of the Childish Bambino debate, a couple years back was, how come nerdy guys aren't attracted to black women? It's like we've been the punching bags for literally too long. We've been the rejection punching bags. And, there's almost really no reason to even want to pursue a black girl. Because she's going to give you so much vitriol for merely liking her. And she won't be grateful for it. Even when I was, younger, liking somebody, damn nearly made a girl throw up in her mouth. And, black girls carry this. It's so weird, but they do carry this stigma of like they really hate you. Like they really hate you for whatever reason. And it's not even like you remind them of their boyfriends or their deadbeat fathers, allegedly or supposedly. It's like they really just hate you off of a TV show they watched. And I remember when I was in middle school, I went to 8th grade, I went to a magnet school. And you would never have thought this would have happened in a magnet school. One of the top magnet schools in the country. I went to a magnet school for 1 year. And there was a girl. She was a light-skinned girl, beady eyes. She was really pretty. And I remember she had a friend who was also very pretty, but she was more brown skin, but an in between from my skin complexion and hers. So she was like a brown caramel chick. And I remember she had like a little Asian like eyes or whatever. And I remember the girl that was a little darker, she would talk to me like a person, but her light-skinned friend had this weird vitriol against me, and I just never even knew what the fuck I did. I didn't even do anything to her, at least that I recall. I really don't know, what the fuck, what gave her this reason to not like me. I didn't even understand it. And I remember she really didn't let up until after the school dance. And I think that was like the Friday. It was the Friday before. I think it was either before the last week of school or before it was like the third week before the last day of school. And one thing I will never forget, I remember, I was having a good time and I was like the life of the party. And a lot of people weren't expecting that. And I remember she was crying for some odd reason. I don't know why she was crying, but I remember she was in her dress and she was just crying for some odd reason. And then I remember I don't even know what gave it away. But I remember like a week. I think it was like the last week of school. I don't know. I don't know if it was an apology, but she said something to me to where it was like we were cool. And what was kind of funny was that about 3 to 4 years later, I ran into her in high school on a high school trip, in a county-wide high school trip. And yeah, she remembered me because it was kind of ironic because I was a senior in high school. And she remembered me. She was like, "Oh yeah, you look the same, just with the hair and shit." And it really did teach me that a lot of what black women feel about certain type of men is really not an original thought. And and I've always known that black women do not think for themselves. It's always this hive mind that's feeding them who to like, who to hate. And a lot of black women, who were children and young teens during the 2000s, they were really programmed to hate us. From shows like Norbit, from movies like Norbit, which I've gotten a lot of hate, a lot of vitriol, from that movie to where this was a movie that literally legitimized that ELs don't even deserve attractive women. That's why a lot of these women. And that's really the movie that solidified why a lot of black women would like to, beauty shame ELs from wanting attractive women and try to put this whole, well, you don't really deserve her because you're not a social match. But, if you was to have standards so low, that it's practically embarrassing, and say you want the 300-pound woman who can barely, stand up straight for 30 seconds, nobody would even bat a fucking eye. And then you had the Bernie Mac show Norbit, which is the typical black nerd cliches: asthmatic, a punching bag, gay or suspect, and is beat up and pushed around by women and girls in his family. It was just like so frustrating. I don't even think I'm 30, and to a degree, I would say that black women still to this day have really, they really haven't given me my humanity. As compared to Jaleel White, I'm still yet to get my humanity to where a black woman can literally like look at me for me and like literally want to get to know me. I feel like black women they just make it so freaking hard because they are so programmed to hate black men for any fucking thing that they literally struggle to find a reason to hate the EL, but they just kind of hate them because, oh well, I can the saving the non-saving grace is that most ELs are unattractive to black women, so it's an easy punching bag. They didn't even really put much. They didn't even put much on here, but like I said before, man, black women have used Family Matters as a reason to hate a lot of these ELs. And really nowadays, being a black man that wears glasses isn't really that bad, but the stigma isn't as bad as it used to, primarily because a lot of people wear glasses and it's pretty normalized to wear them, and that most glasses of today are not the bifocal, 4-inch radius rim, lens or whatever. You can get different styles and looks and all that shit. You can even get frameless glasses and shit. But and also, people are being forced to wear glasses because they're fucking up their vision and shit. So the stigma isn't as bad. I noticed the stigma tend to went away when the older, Gen Z generation were getting into high school, and that's when you saw in the LGBTQ community, to where you saw individualism and people taking, fashion risk. But but to be honest with you, I think black women still have I know for sure black women still have resentment for educated lames, and they're really forcing a reason to hate them, and the thing is they don't have a legitimate reason to hate you. And that I think that's why as an EL you have to sit back and sometimes take the blows and just be like, what is the reason to hate me? you don't have it. You just have to to a degree accept it. They want to hate you because in their mind there's no black man that's good for them. And so black women will, even when black women pretend to like an EL, black women will find some reason to fuck it up. They'll find some reason. They'll just make up some bullshit excuse that he's too emotional, or it really is not even that. It's really, they'll just find some stupid ass reason, and then they'll date Ray Ray and Pookie, and then try to Negro explain that black men aren't at some stupid level they want them to be, and it's like, EL with a good job, but what you wanted to fuck it up and not ride along with him. And it's like black women literally have the easiest job when it comes to attracting somebody. Like, they literally have the easiest job, but they fuck it up. They constantly fuck it up because they don't know how to keep a man. And to be honest with you, I do think that black women suffering and losing in the game is well deserved. I'm not trying to hear anything about black women deserving love. That you guys don't deserve it. You don't deserve it. You didn't earn it. And the fact that you are driving black men away due to your attitude is going to be the undoing of the race, and it's going to be the undoing of your chances to, granted, it's going to diminish your chances of being happily married. And really, truth be told, at this rate in time, black women might as well just be grateful for being baby mamas. But this is my episode. This is my little talk. I didn't really have much planned. It kind of feels weird doing the old classic way of just doing commentary on articles or just freeballing it off the top of my head. It's crazy if you've been following me since the last 10 years. I used to be a master and pro at this. I've if you guys have been following me for over 10 years, say something. I need to know, because with my supposed 550 subscribers. I want to know who's been riding for me since the old you know college freshman years. You guys have really been there for me from the transformation, from the difference from ideologies and all of that shit. So I really do want to see what you guys think of me, and like and subscribe, I suppose, if you ain't already doing it.